Conversely, though, I don't know. I might be wrong, and I'll wait for Akash to weigh in on this. What I feel, Akash, is that this is not true for larger corporations. What I've been seeing as a trend is they've been going down a different route. They are, while of course they want to work with AI, and Microsoft Copilot, was like the name of the agent they released, and they wanted to ensure that you work alongside digital labor. But the larger corporations in tech are so people intensive today. They have a lot of manual work going on, and is this the same trend you're seeing there? Is it a co-worker trend, or is it actually leading to a lot of roles becoming redundant and people having to reinvent themselves?
I think the theme is the same as what Tanay was talking about. So,
Okay.
You've got Microsoft that has just laid off, I think, 3% of its workforce just a couple of days ago, 6,000 folks, all in the software engineering and like product management, product marketing, that category of jobs and roles. And you're right. Like, I mean, the general, I guess, if I had to summarize what Tanay said in 2 lines, is that AI literacy is becoming extremely important. And that for product marketing, right, it's basically a tool for research, analysis, and implementation, right?
Okay.
And so that's true. I think even at Dell, at Microsoft, Amazon, any big corporation that you name it. What's really happening is that organizations are becoming increasingly leaner with the productivity enhancements that AI is bringing, right? So Tanay talked about like how you can use it for content creation, in a B2B setting, you can use it for sales enablement. All of that, right, is something that, let's say, a product marketer would spend a day, 2 days, 3 days out of their week, maybe, right? Spending a couple hours every day and building, right? Now Gen AI can basically do it in a couple of minutes. You spend maybe half an hour to optimize it. We've talked about this before. And then you push it out, right? So the theme remains the same, right? The strategic work, the softer skills, the problem-solving skills, all of that becomes increasingly important. Regardless of, I think, whichever industry you're in, whether it's big tech or it's small micro cap businesses or something else entirely, right? And so what's really going to happen, I think, down the line is that there's going to be a little bit of consolidation of roles. So let's say technical product managers will merge with a role like product engineers. Or for that matter, because of the productivity enhancements, a product marketer who's typically responsible, or a product manager who's typically responsible for a single product or one product line, will now be responsible for multiple different product lines, right? So the ratio of a marketer or a manager to engineers or other people in the org is going to significantly change. It'll become from one to one to one to many.
So sorry. Yeah. So I have a question here. We spoke about in episode 2 about how particular roles, basically when they're new in their sort of organization, they sort of evolve by sort of basically creating sectors within that particular domain, and then essentially more roles sprout out of that central role. So let's say, for example, how you're talking about how product marketing originally was a product manager's job only, but as the product manager role evolved, is how product marketer became a separate role in itself. Right? So do you think that with the help of AI, do you think that AI essentially, because of AI, those roles will sort of start being put back together into sort of a single guy handling product managing and product marketing? Or do you think that essentially those roles will remain the same, but essentially they'll just be handling way more volume of work?
I think that depends on the company strategy. Okay. I can't say for everyone, right? But those are definitely the 2 parts that any company can adopt. I think personally, for a smaller company, it's going to be potentially one role managing both things. And this again leads back to what we discussed in episode 2, where there are a number of product lines, a large number of product lines in a larger company as opposed to a smaller company. And so that's where the distinction will, I think, remain. And it's just like one product marketer handling multiple more things, versus a product manager doing both product marketing and product management. Yeah, that's just my view, right?
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it.
Akash coming in the papers and people running after him. But
we're going to hold him specifically responsible.
We should
5 years down the line, we're like, you said this.
We should take a snippet and attribute it to Akash Borwankar and put it up as a part of the description of this podcast.
Correct.
But what I feel though is, to answer your question, Tanay, I don't think these roles will be recombined. Because what I feel is, now that, say, taking the same example, product marketing and product management, and I've met a lot of people in both these roles, and more than the fact that they're able to get more with AI, you'll be able to get more work done. It's about the mentality of how these roles have evolved. So product managers effectively are now looking at development of the product. They're sort of coordinating with your engineering dev teams. They're looking at development of the product. They are trying to incorporate user feedback, understand where the market is going, doing a certain amount of competitor analysis. And I know product marketers also will say we're doing the same thing. But in the difference that I've noticed, product marketers are now more focused on figuring out what the roadblocks are for users of that product. While product managers are more focused on figuring out what the roadblocks are in the product itself, what is not letting it perform to an optimal capacity. So say when it comes to new feature development, that might be a feedback that comes from a product marketer. But when it comes to the best way to develop that feature, or whether that feature can include something else, it's your product manager. And more, I feel product managers are required to have a certain amount of technical understanding so as to become like a level of cross-questioning for your engineering dev teams, the why of what you're doing. And this also ties down to the fact of how AI is being used. So what people are saying is, because of AI, we're becoming lazy. We're not optimizing anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it was 64 KB sort of memory chip that sent us to the moon.
Yeah.
And today my laptop with like a 16 GB RAM will cry if I'm trying to run a very heavy application on it.
Yeah.
So I think what product managers are also supposed to do is optimize the product to ensure that its utility is good. Product marketers are supposed to listen to intent signals, buyer signals, talk to the market, and understand why the product should go in a certain direction.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, a little bit of a difference. And I think these roles will remain segregated. But because of AI, like say if a product marketer, like you said, has a copywriter, a designer, a couple of other digital marketers working under them to push the product, those sub roles might get eliminated. Similarly, for product managers, sub roles might get eliminated simply because people will say, hey, you know what? You can do XYZ using AI. You focus on strategy, but you don't need a whole person sitting in the room to help you with whatever other tasks you have.